That's it. Let it all out.
Sony, 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 Sony. Just, just, just give up. Please, Sony. Just give up. Please, Sony. Stick to video games. Stick on creating products. I mean, the camera that I'm using is Sony. Stick to that. I'm getting sick of your shitty movies. I am also sick that you're trying too hard to keep the Marvel license. And when it's proven that you guys are getting a little bit inept with it. Yeah, I saw Venom. I was dreading this movie ever since day one. But still, I wanted to keep myself open-minded. But it sucked. I'm sorry. It sucked. I can say some positive things. It's not as bad as a Fantastic Four. But the more I begin to realize a little bit about this movie, the more I think hard about this movie. It kind of made me appreciate what you did to Eddie Brock and Venom in freaking Spider-Man 3. What? How'd this happen?
They have the money.
At this point, Sony should stop making any more Marvel movies. It's been shown that they're trying too hard. And the biggest reason why I really dislike Venom is that it tried too hard. Granted, they know the product, they know the hero. Well, anti-hero in Venom's case. But apparently they kind of miss a lot of the point of what made the Marvel Cinematic Universe successful. Or a good superhero movie, and more than for that matter. Look, I don't want to come out saying that this is the worst movie of the year or something like that, because it isn't. It isn't. It kind of feels like a very, very below average film. That's the best praise I can say about this movie, is below average. But sometimes I have to play hard. And I have to say, this movie, I really didn't like it. I didn't like it, but I don't hate it. I mean, after watching movies like The Darkest Minds and Show Dogs, I could see the Venom at least better than those kind of movies. But still, there's no excuse for me that this is probably one of the most confused, awkward movies that I have seen, at least in a while. It has this, although it gave me this kind of feeling that it's technically like someone that you really want to like, but you feel like something is missing, but it doesn't help that there's some kind of inept caring onto this one. Man, I'm dragging this a little bit on, so for the people who doesn't know, we got the first problem of the Venom, of the what it was lacking in the Venom movie. One guy was missing in the Venom movie, and that is Spider-Man. Yep, Venom is technically one of the villains slash anti-villains of the Spider-Man universe. And it felt that making a movie about Venom without Spider-Man is kind of like just eating bread without its butter. And we already had something that it tries to be a standalone for a standalone secondary character from one movie, making its own movie without the main hero, let's say. And unfortunately, that movie was Catwoman. It was Catwoman without Batman. And did it work? No, it didn't work. So a Venom without Spider-Man. A bold approach, but still felt that it wasn't ready for that, especially since we had that in Spider-Man 3, and you kind of fail on that. What we need what more is that a proper Venom with Spider-Man. And so I don't think that a standalone Venom movie was the correct choice. It wasn't ready for that. So anyway,
Just get on with the review already.
Oh yeah, I kind of dragging on. All right, I'll give it some positive. Are you alright with that? Sure. Well, okay. They got, like I said, some of the core elements of the Eddie Brock and the Eddie Brock / Venom backstory from the comics is preserved, and at least I will give it that. Except with the Spider-Man thing. And that part, I thought that it was decent. The only thing that I didn't like is mostly how the movie was constructed, and the pacing is steady, but sometimes comes up a little bit off and slow. I think the best part actually comes up 40 minutes after the movie. That's technically when finally the movie wanted to resemble an action film. So, alright. Oh, okay, then let's get on. The story, of course, we have Eddie Brock, this time being a reporter. Okay, he was always a reporter, even in the Spider-Man universe. He's played by Tom Hardy, and honestly, Tom Hardy is probably one of the most forgivable parts of this movie. He's doing a decent job, but I'll get to that on something that kind of nags me. So Eddie Brock is apparently a very successful reporter, even though he's a little bit hot-blooded, and apparently he has also this grudge against this pseudo umbrella pharmaceutical company called Life Enterprises, I think it was called, and yeah, he gets an interview with the head of that pharmacy. This guy is playing what was the name of this? What was the name of this guy? Riz Ahmed. Riz Ahmed. He in which he gets a chance to get an interview with him, but he finds out that they're doing some inhuman, illegal, human rights illegal type experiments that he just found out when he snoops in on his girlfriend's email, because she worked on that company. And when he wanted to confront that during the interview, he screws everything up, and his life goes down. I mean, he gets fired. His girlfriend. I mean, rightfully so. She gets fired. She gets fired too, and she blames him for him, and apparently, yeah, his life is ruined. But in the meantime, of course, we also have that this Life Enterprise had sent some rockets in space with some astronauts, and they bring down this gooey life form in which they call symbiotes. I don't know. I'm getting a little bit of a trouble pronouncing it. Symbiotes. So excuse if my pronunciation is a little bit off at the moment. And well, what the character of Riz Ahmed is trying to do is that he just wants to use the symbiotes to to merge with humans so they can be strong, they can live longer, and all this stuff. And of course, in order to do that, you have to go into illegal method, like using human specimens here and there. And yeah, 6 months later, he finally decided to move on from animals to humans. And yeah, Eddie Brock, he kind of became a bum, living in a washed-out apartment. He couldn't get a job, and this is kind of makes me feel that, yeah, it's close to the backstory of Eddie Brock with Spider-Man, but without Spider-Man, because honestly, in the Spider-Man universe, the crux of Eddie Brock's hatred to Spider-Man is because Spider-Man is kind of indirectly responsible for all the things that happen to Eddie Brock. Again, losing his job, his I think he had a girlfriend before everything like that. I don't remember much of the comics, but basically is that. And well, to cut a little bit of a long story short, Eddie Brock is still sore about the Life Enterprise because they're kind of like the responsible who took his life away, and he's looking for a job, and he finds some kind of scoop with probably the most naive and the most stupid scientist in the world. There's this woman who she works on the company, and he say that I think you are the perfect guy to try to expose the evils of that enterprise. And I'll get to something that really nags me. But long story short, he gets there. If a certain accident happens in which Eddie Brock get merged with one of the symbiotes, and there you got the typical origin story of Eddie Brock. The parasite that he has in his body begins to take over his body, and he's beginning to act kind of like an animal. He becomes angry. He wants to eat, especially even raw food, raw meat. And of course, when the Life Enterprise kind of finds out, they just kind of want him. And to make things short again, you get the typical superhero story being chased by this guy. I wish I didn't say superhero, because Venom is technically not a hero. He's an anti-hero. And the biggest bullshit that this movie has is that they always wanted to cram into your head that this is no hero. This is an anti-hero movie. Yeah, we know. And guess what? The movie doesn't treat him like that. It tries to treat him more heroic than a hero. The biggest problem that I have with this movie is that you can notice that it tries way too hard on being a Marvel movie. Not just kind of like Deadpool. It wants to try too hard to be the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That kind of proves that Venom shouldn't belong in a Sony Marvel movie. It should belong to the Marvel universe. I mean they got Marvel now has Spider-Man. Just give up, Sony. Just give up. I know that this is shameful of me, because I don't want Disney to monopolize everything. But if Disney do a better job on the product than Sony, you have to give up. Sorry, Sony, but you deserve to not make any more movies. Just stick to PlayStation 4. Just stick with that. Okay. Alright, I'm kind of feeling that Venom is on me.
Oh, you think?
What I mean about why it's trying too hard is that it tries to be funny, even in the most awkward moments. But unfortunately, most of the jokes doesn't land. The joke kind of comes off as either cringy or really, really awkward. It doesn't have too much of a punchline or even a moment that doesn't feel like it should be. And I was almost calling red alert in a scene where it almost goes to be gets to cringe level to the dancing scene of Spider-Man 3. And if you're wondering, it is a scene at the restaurant. That scene was kind of almost getting close to emo Peter Parker moment. You almost got close to that. And I wouldn't say that tonal changes are bad, but you have to measure a little bit on the things that you're doing, because when Eddie Brock finally gets a symbiote and begins to hear Venom in his head and all this stuff, this is probably the most interesting part of the movie. But unfortunately, the way it is treated, it feels like the movie feels that it is running out of time, and he's saying, no time of character development. Just move on. Just keep on the characters. Let's just have Venom in his head say some witty banter here and there, without explaining how he learns English, why he is attached to Eddie Brock, and all this stuff. They don't give any moment to put a foot and say, wait, let's develop these characters, let's develop a feeling, an emotion. Because then some of the reaction that happened in this one, it kind of begins to act a little bit nonchalant. So the movie feels so confused on what kind of tone it wants to do. And if it wants to go for a tonal change, it didn't earn it. It didn't earn those moments. It needed to back up a little bit more if it wanted to have some witty banter and choose the correct time. I mean, I know. I read some of the comics, and I know the Venom character. The Venom character is fine. Eddie Brock and Venom are kind of have this conversation in their head, kind of like smart alecky. Kind of like Spider-Man, and that's kind of the charm of that character. But again, it didn't get its time, and it didn't earn that moment. And at first, you were on the right track. Venom possessed Eddie Brock because of his needs of hunger and all this stuff. But then almost at the middle of the movie, it kind of wanted to feel like it wanted to empathize with Eddie Brock, kind of liking kind of like his ex-fiance who is now married to another guy who is that doctor, and he goes like, hey, I like her. It felt like out of the blue. It didn't felt earned. It didn't earn that. And this comes off that the movie, it just wanted to focus on the wrong things, and just saying witty banter is not going to help on the likability of the movie. A witty banter, it should be earned by the personality and understanding of the character. And I will talk for a long time about that, but we have to move on. And our villain, Riz Ahmed. Oh, sorry, there's an airplane over there. It doesn't matter. Riz Ahmed, I'm sorry, but as a villain, he sucks. He totally sucks. Even his acting kind of sucks. He is probably one of the most uninteresting villains I have seen. I mean, this is a character who I was almost begging for at least overacting. I mean, even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and even some of the worst Marvel characters, at least has something to be memorable. But this guy, no, he's just kind of like a scientist, and he always has this consistent tone that you find probably in almost every real life human being or human scientist they talk. And kind of like, And you know, guy has to go, and I'm not making any more expressions. He's just there. Nothing memorable about this guy, and even his plan, it kind of feels like it's something that should belong to a mad scientist, but it gave him to some generic guy who doesn't feel like he's invested in the story. He doesn't want to act in this. The only he only becomes a kind of like a little bit of a spark of interest when he finally gets possessed by a symbiote, in which we had this kind of subplot in which one of the symbiotes kind of ran away from the spaceship's crash landing, and it possessed a woman, then an old woman, and then he possessed a little girl, and that little girl apparently for reasons that we don't know, it just managed to get into the Life Enterprise to possess Riz Ahmed and turns into Riot. I don't know. I don't remember if this is a real Marvel character, but whatever. I'll take that guy. And by the way, another thing that I want to complain about this movie is the editing and the pacing. Most of the editing feels a little bit shaky, especially the action scenes. And you can notice that apparently there's some scenes that feels that they're missing. Like in the beginning, apparently it feels like Eddie Brock had some kind of connection with some home. How can I say? Some homeless woman who I don't even know who she is, and apparently this woman then kind of returns as a lab rat in the Life Enterprises, and yeah, she was the one who got possessed by Venom and gets killed, and before Venom possessed Eddie Brock. This felt me a little bit confused. I also felt confused about this stupid scientist, why she wanted to contact Eddie Brock, and of all things. Also it feels like the movie wanted to save some money, and instead of giving us a visual elaboration of a lot of the things that are happening, and instead we just have exposition of dialogues that some reason it felt uninteresting. The biggest thing that kind of rubbed me in the wrong foot is that, again, like I said, one of the biggest weaknesses of this movie that misses the mark is building up a relationship between Eddie Brock and Venom. There was this moment in which it wanted to feel like saying that Venom say that, oh, I came from this planet full of symbiotes and I'm beginning to like this planet, and also I kind of feel attached to you. I can read your emotion because I saw that you're a loser and I'm a loser on that planet. It doesn't elaborate on that, and honestly, now that I think of it, that's nothing, because there is a big difference on a loser and someone who is passing for a hard moment. So you missed the point. Sony, or whatever the director of this movie, you missed the point. There's a big difference between a loser and someone who is having a rough moment. I mean, because before all this shit happened to Eddie Brock, he was successful. He had his own TV channel. He just screwed something, and he just spent 6 months in a really hard moment. That's not being a loser. It's someone who is one who is struggling for something. Want to know who's a loser? Young Peter Parker, because Peter Parker was being bullied. Is someone who no one takes him seriously. I'm just giving an example, just in case. A loser is, at least in the eyes of Dad, is someone who is kind of like a runt, who is having a hard life for even longer time, and it feels like a runt. So the priorities of loser wasn't the correct word for that. This is why I most rather like if they could have fixed that and said that symbiote Venom, he just picked Eddie Brock, but mostly because on the huge level of emotion that he's going through, not because of saying that I'm a loser, you're a loser. No, 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 no. You didn't earn that. You didn't earn that again. And you know that this movie also tries a little bit too hard on to appease the fans, because there was this moment in which what how can I explain this? In which Eddie loses the symbiote because apparently they had this fight in which they find out that Venom is eating Eddie from the inside, which is actually true. That's one of the symbiotes is kind of like a parasitic alien life form, and also I kind of forgot to tell you that yeah, they kept the weakness of the symbiotes, in which it is which is high sonar frequencies. So they managed to separate, briefly they managed to separate these two, and yeah, Eddie Brock gets captured by the kind of like the bad guy from the Life Foundation, and the symbiote, for some reason he just wants, he really feels attached to Eddie Brock. We don't know why, but but then he possessed a dog, and then he possessed, and here's the fan servicey part. He possessed the Eddie Brock's ex-fiance. And she comes to the rescue in her She-Venom suit. Yep, there's a She-Venom. And for people who doesn't know, yes, there is a She-Venom in the comics. So here's your fan servicey stuff. Pretty coincidental, because I'm kind of a little bit dreading also, as a side note, the Sony Spider-Man movie, the multiverse Spider-Man movie. I saw the new trailer, and boy, that they want to put more Spider-Man stuff. I mean, they wanted to focus on Miles Morales and Peter, but they put Peter Parker in a second. But they wanted to also put other fan servicey Spider-Mans, like the Spider-Gwen, another one, and one that surprised me, Spider-Hog. But I'll say this: it looks kind of better than than this movie. I'll say that this animated movie looks better than this Venom movie. And speaking of animation, what do I think about the special effects? I can't say much, because I personally like the look of Venom. It fits. It fits what it is. And I prefer a little bit of a bad special effect than Uncanny Valley stuff. Well, to a point. And trust me that I saw worse CGI than this one. So it doesn't affect me too much. But during the final battles, somehow the CGI gets on the way a little bit too much. So much that the editing in it is a little bit too tight, that we don't understand what the freak is going on. And it doesn't help that the whole movie is shot in kind of like in darker color. The colors is really, really grim and a little bit gray, that so much that it feels somber in a way. And by the way, when it's about somber, there is also one thing that I don't like, and many people just kind of notice. Did you know that this movie is PG-13? But the way the action scenes go, and considering how we know Venom, the movie begs to be R-rated. See what I mean? We have to get rid of those bullshit censorships, and that you can't do that. You can't do that in order if you want that PG-13 or you want this R-rated. Let it go. Because technically it's beginning to say that it all the time when Venom bites the head of someone, it's always off screen, and there is no blood, but it's begging for it. It's begging. If you're gonna say that we don't wanna traumatize children, let me remind you that Thanos eliminated the whole universe. It may be bloodless, but it still is death. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Grow. I'm gonna say that the committee of regulations, grow up. Grow up. You are the ones who need to grow up. I mean, we can put some standards. But let's face it, let it go. Okay. Venom is still on my brain. Okay, let's continue on. Yep, they beg us for the PG-13. They had the fan servicey stuff, and the ending kind of again comes out of nowhere. There was a missing part thing that kind of makes us raise our eyebrows. And by the way, yes, the scene of the robbery in a grocery store, that is on the trailers, is the final part of the movie. You're doing it again. You did that with Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that movie sucked too. Oh, and yes, I stay at least to try to stay in the after credits, and I knew what they were doing. They began to tease us Carnage in one of the lamest mid-credit scenes I have seen. That mid-credit scene was really, really lame. And I beg you people, I beg you, no Venom movie. No, don't give it the Venom movie. But I know they will do, because people are still wants to watch shitty Sony superhero movies. When I still say that, God, just give up, Sony. Give up. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm as much as disappointed as how Warner Brothers is treating the DC universe. And you know what? At least as a side point, I can't believe that I feel eager to watch Aquaman and Shazam, when I know that the only thing that they're gonna suck about these movies is that they're coming from the continuity from this god awful Warner Brothers other DC movies. But Sony, just give up. You can't handle the Spider-Man universe. Just give it up. Give it up completely. At least I can tolerate your X-Men stuff. And I don't know if Deadpool was actually Sony. Yeah. I think it is. It is 20th Century Fox. The Deadpool franchise. At least that was. Those were pretty good. Mostly because Ryan Reynolds has total control over that. All right. That's all what I can say about Venom. I was really disappointed. Really disappointed. It's a really disappointing movie, but if you had fun, like some people kind of laugh in some of the jokes, it's fine. I'm not gonna hold torch into you if you kind of like it, because granted, some of the jokes kind of land. Even though I don't know if the people who laugh at some of those jokes were out of cringe or pity. I'll just let you decide into that. At least it's not as bad as Fantastic Four. That I'll give it that. It's not good. That's the only thing that I can say about Venom. is not
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Enough talk. You know what to do.
Okay. You know what? I'm getting hungry.